Good afternoon, everyone. At this time, I would like to call the regular meeting to order. Clerk of the Board, please take the roll.
Arancibia,
Present.
Lopez,
Here.
Lopez Zepeda,
Here.
Solis,
Present.
Aguirre.
Here.
This is the point of the agenda where members of the public may address the board on matters posted for the special meeting and in accordance with Government Code Section 54954.3 subsection A. The board will provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the legislative body concerning any item that has been described in this notice for the meeting. Before or during consideration of that item, each person wishing to address an item on the meeting notice in closed session will have 2 minutes to do so.
The first speaker is Gregory Johnson.
Give me.
Hello? Okay. I have been a member of the district for 28 years. I know in the past couple of years my attendance has been a problem due to health problems that I have sought medical with, went to FMLA. I believe it has also kind of done with administration because it had not happened in the past. Some of the stuff I do wish that I could just have a little bit more time to give you guys evidence because this just kind of came so quickly that I don't feel like I was able to give, you know, paperwork, work notes, things like that kind of stuff, like to actually like the union, like I was just given this notice on Friday that I was having this meeting today at 4, so I really couldn't possibly get representation in less than a day. So I was just wondering if there could be like a little extension for me to try to clear, you know, my record and get back on track of what I need to do.
We are not able to respond at this time.
Okay.
Okay.
Adolfo Jaramillo.
Hi, good afternoon, board. Good afternoon. I'm here, first of all, I want to say thank you for this opportunity to come before you to speak on my own behalf. I did put in a request for a leave of absence. I started the process back in May. Reason being is I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now with life, with regards to family, and I've got some health issues that I'm dealing with. Just recently got diagnosed with diabetes, and I'm taking this Ozempic stuff. And anyways, don't want to get too personal, but that's part of it. I've also got some mental health issues that kind of trigger with regards to my family circumstances. I've got a young boy who's going to be going to Hilltop High. I haven't really been too active in his academic life. Not that we live in the same house, but I've got to dedicate some time for my son. He's 14 years old now. And in all of this saying is that I noticed my work was being impacted negatively, like just to my standards, only because my mind wasn't where it needed to be, given my circumstances, or personal circumstances, sorry. So that's why I'm here. I'm here just to let you know that I'm requesting a leave of absence for the first semester. Turns out the last day of the semester is my birthday, the 19th of December. It's pretty cool, something to look forward to. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Trying to take care of myself, trying to take care of my family, and definitely don't want my work to suffer from that. So I'm deciding to focus my time on family at the time. So thank you.
Julio Fonseca.
Thank you for sharing.
Good afternoon, Superintendent, members of the board. My name is Julio Fonseca. I'm here to discuss a case, Mar Vista case that is being presented to you as a settlement of agreement in lieu of expulsion. We did have a hearing that there were lots of information that came about from that meeting where the parent subsequently felt that there may be a request for special education services to have the student assessed prior to the recommendation or to the settlement agreement being made. That request was submitted on Friday. A request to postpone the hearing to be placed into abeyance pending the, excuse me, the special education assessment. However, we were told that the board needed to receive that settlement agreement immediately prior to any request for assessment to be conducted. So it was a little bit odd to us that these types of assessment would be done after the fact and not to be placed on hold until the district and the family had all of the information to make the right decision for this student. So I'm hopeful that the parent, the board will receive the settlement agreement signed today. But again, I would implore the district and the superintendent to look a little bit further into the case, into that a special education request was made and it was asked, the case was asked to be placed into abeyance this past Friday. So I'm hopeful that we can reconsider. We do not want to do away with the settlement agreement, but we do want to be able to provide the board with the absolute best information possible so that an appropriate decision could be made in this case. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
No further speakers.
Okay. If there is no further communication, I will recess the meeting for consideration of the following closed session items as posted on the meeting notice. Item 1, students, student expulsion suspended. Expulsions reinstatements, Education Code Section 48916 through 48918, students identified by case and ID number. Item 2, public employee discipline dismissal release, Government Code Section 54957. Item 3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. Item 4, conference with labor negotiator, Government Code Section 54957.6. We will now adjourn to closed session. Afternoon. At this time, I would like to reconvene the regular board meeting. We will now hold the swearing-in ceremony for our new student board representative, Elizabeth Flores. I get to swear her in? Okay, raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Elizabeth Flores,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, trustee. Do we do pictures?
Yeah. You want, you want in the picture? Please.
You want me to push the microphone a little bit? Congratulations.
I just slipped my line. Yeah. She was fantastic, but honestly, the two, like, this year was tough.
Fun way to start. The board met in closed session.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Could you go back up to the roll call?
Oh. Convene, Lisa. Oh, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Clerk of the board, please call roll.
Arencibia? Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez?
Here.
Lopez Zepeda?
Here.
Solis?
Present.
Aguirre?
Here.
Flores?
Present.
Okay, we will now hold a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The board met in closed session preceding this meeting to discuss the following issues. Item 1, student expulsions suspended, expulsions, reinstatements. Education Code Section 48916 through 48918, students identified by case and ID number. Item 2, public employee, discipline, dismissal, release. Government Code Section 54957. Item 3, conference with legal counsel. Anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. Item 4, conference with labor negotiator, Government Code Section 54957.6. The board took the following action. Moved by Solis, second by Arancibia, to approve the reinstatement of 2 students with a vote of Arancibia, yes; Emerald, yes; Lopez, Cepeda, yes; Solis, yes. Moved by Arancibia, second by Lopez, to approve the request for leave of absence for 1 certificated employee with a vote of Arancibia, yes; Emerald, yes; Lopez, Cepeda, yes; Solis, yes. Moved by Lopez Cepeda, second by Arancibia, to approve the dismissal of 1 classified employee with a vote of Arancibia, yes; Emerald, yes; Lopez, Cepeda, yes; Solis, yes. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the July 21st, 2025 regular board meeting.
So
Do I
moved.
have a,
Second?
Flores?
Yes.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Lopez Cepeda?
yes,
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. We will now have a message from Superintendent Dr. Moises Aguirre.
Thank you, President Lopez Cepeda. Good evening and buenas tardes to everybody. It is my honor to welcome you all to the start of the 2025-26 school year, which begins on Wednesday. One that begins with a renewed sense of purpose, hope, and unity. We gather this evening, we do so under the theme of Sweetwater United. These 2 words capture not just a slogan, but truly a call to action. In a time when our nation and our world can often feel divided, we in Sweetwater are choosing a different path. We choose collaboration over conflict, partnership over polarization, and community over isolation. Now, this doesn't mean that we will always agree, but it means that we don't have to be disagreeable when we are in that space. This morning, I had an opportunity to visit a number of sites where professional development was occurring. San Isidro High School, Montgomery High School, and Eastlake High School. And I observed firsthand our staff, our teachers, and our classified staff as well, working together to improve the service to our students. Our theme for this year, Sweetwater United, reflects the strength that comes from standing together. Teachers, support staff, administrators, families, and most importantly, our students. It means recognizing that every classroom, every campus, every department, all of us, we all contribute to a shared mission. Empowering our students to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. We are united in our belief that every student has unlimited potential. United in our efforts to create inclusive, let me reiterate that, our efforts to create inclusive, welcoming, and safe schools. And united in our determination to build a future that reflects the hopes and dreams of the families we serve. I want to thank the members of this board for your unwavering commitment to equity, to access, and academic excellence. Your leadership sets the tone for everything we do. As we begin this new school year, let us move forward not as individuals working in silos, but as a district family bound by a common purpose and inspired by a shared vision. Together, we are Sweetwater United. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you. We will now have a message from Miss Elizabeth Flores, Student Board Representative. Do you have a message? Probably not. Share a little bit about yourself.
Unfortunately, I have not been able to meet with the ASB President Council quite yet, but I will share a little bit about myself. My name is Elizabeth Flores. I'm from Otay Ranch High School. I am also ASB Vice President for Otay Ranch High School. And I'm very honored to be here, and I'm very, very excited for this year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. This is the point on the agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda and have 3 minutes each to do so. Pursuant to board bylaw, the board may limit the time for public comment on any single topic to 20 minutes per topic. The Board of Trustees cannot legally take action on or respond to matters not posted on the public agenda, but will refer the matter to the superintendent's office for review and report. Speakers shall refrain from using profanity and shall speak in a respectful manner. Thank you for your cooperation. Do we have any speakers, Clerk of the Board?
Yes, first speaker is Lucy Ugarte. Oh, okay. First speaker is Elizabeth Luensin Garcia.
President Lopez Cepeda, Superintendent Dr. Aguirre, and members of the board. Welcome, Ms. Flores. It's great to see you. I first want to start, my name is Elizabeth Luensin Garcia, President of the Sweetwater Counseling and Guidance Association. I first wanted to start to honor the memory of a teacher from Sweetwater High School who's passed away recently, Eric Esperon. He was a social science teacher at Sweetwater High School for over 20 years. He taught U.S. government and economics most years, so he definitely built relationships with seniors every year. But what I'm most proud of is working with him to establish the first ever Filipino-American history class, not only in the Sweetwater district, but in Southern California. So this was an A through G college prep course that we've offered. So if anyone is watching or if anyone is listening, we're looking for someone to fill those big shoes. So he was an awesome teacher, a wonderful friend, and he'll be missed greatly. So that was Mr. Eric Esperon. So my message, as we begin another school year, I'd like to take a moment on behalf of SCGA to wish everyone, students, staff, families, and leadership, a positive and successful year ahead. I wanted to share some of my goals as SCGA president this year. First and foremost is supporting counselor well-being by advocating realistic workloads and promoting work-life balance. That's very important. I want to work on improving communication, not only with SCGA members, but also between counselors and district leadership, district committees, the different things that we do with our site admin, just to ensure transparency and to avoid assumptions that can create unnecessary tension. And of course, something that's very important to me and something that's been brought to me relates to counselor burnout. I really want to recognize and uplift the everyday work of our counselors. Often goes unseen, and they're definitely feeling it. So I want to make sure that they are recognized for the hard work they do every day, because it is definitely vital to student success. We all know that the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. Our counselors are best when they feel supported, valued, and heard. When we take time to fill our own cups, whether through rest, connection, or simply being recognized, we're able to better serve our students and families with heart and clarity. So as we dive into this new school year, let's remember the power of collective care, intentional leadership, and the spirit of Sweetwater United. Thank you for your continued support to our school counselors and all they do to help students thrive. Thank you.
Lucy Ugarte.
Thank you. Good evening, President Lopez Cepeda, trustees, and Dr. Aguirre. Welcome, Trustee Flores. Today, I sent a message to site leadership and cabinet regarding the association's desire to continue to work collaboratively and proactively to foster positive working relationships and environments that are conducive to the success of our students and families. The association and the district have worked diligently the last few years to ensure that matters are remedied at the lowest level possible. It doesn't mean we see eye to eye or that we each get our own way. In fact, it's said that a good negotiation is one in which both parties walk away with some disappointment, but also with some wins. SEA understands that the collective bargaining agreement, contract, is a document for both parties to adhere to with integrity. In the times we are in now, where public education is under attack, it is crucial that we continue to work together for our students, for our families, for our educators, for each other. We must continue to approach our decisions with this lens, that welcomes and protects all of these individuals, for without them, we cease to exist. Welcome back, everyone. Let's go 25-26. Thank you.
Chad Bear.
Good evening. My name is Chad Bear. I'm the father of a child who attended 7th grade, ran cross country, and played soccer last year at Rancho Del Rey Middle School, who was subjected to assault and multiple types of abuse at the hands of Rancho Del Rey administrators, staff, and a classmate. I'm here to inform the school board of these incidents, as well as to request an official investigation into the conduct of the administrators and staff at Rancho Del Rey Middle School, some of which may result in criminal charges. Public school administrators and staff are mandatory reporters of child abuse, but at Rancho Del Rey they are the purveyors, and the very abuse they are required to report. Additionally, California Code of Regulations Title 15, Section 1083 protects students from collective and group punishment, something that repeatedly took place at Rancho Del Rey during the 2024-25 school year. Due to time limitations, I want to talk first about the most recent incident that occurred. You can read about the rest of my page in my 6-page report. My daughter was physically assaulted by a classmate and threatened to be raped in 3 different manners. She filed a formal complaint January 29th. After filing and during the investigation, no effort was made to separate my daughter from her attacker, except without disadvantaging her by changing her schedule, which they offered several times to us, to her, and at even one point changed her schedule electronically, a direct violation of AR 5145.7, which states the separation of accuser and accused should be of no disadvantage to the accuser. Over the 2 to 3 weeks that followed, she was re-victimized multiple times by being pulled out of class in front of her attacker while the assistant principal updated her on the investigation, drilled her on the truthfulness and accuracy of her report, and defended the behavior of her attacker, stating such things as, "He is too young to understand what consent is. He didn't really mean to do what he did, and he doesn't remember saying those things to you." The investigation concluded with the AP claiming the incident was not sexual in nature because no one witnessed his verbal threats of rape, even though they witnessed his repeated touching of her reaction to it, and her telling him repeatedly to stop. The exact touching that occurred is consistently called out in state, national, and federal sexual harassment, sexual assault training, and classified as sexual harassment by itself without any verbal threats of rape, which I pointed out to the assistant principal. After the investigation was completed, we were again told they could change my daughter's schedule. When we asked what happened to the attacker, we were told he received a no-contact order. When we asked about the details of a no-contact order, we were denied. My daughter asked for details of the no-contact order so she could understand what needs to be reported if he violates it. She was denied. This prevents her from reporting any violation or enforcement of the no-contact order when he reoffends because she does not know what constitutes the violation of the order. We repeated requests for this information because in 2023, my 4th grade son was strangled until he lost consciousness by a classmate who also received a no-contact order. When I was told there would be no contact, my son returned to school only to face his attacker within the first hour of returning to class. Again, you can read the rest in here. Thank you.
No further speakers.
Okay. Could we refer this matter to you? Thank you. Okay. Clerk of the board, will you please read the items being pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, the following items are pulled. F3 by staff, G1 by the public, G3 by the public, G14 by staff and the public. On I-5, case number 134 is being withdrawn from the item. And N1 by the public.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Flores,
Yes.
Arencibia,
Yes.
Emerald,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Lopez Zepeda,
Yes.
Solis.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Item F3, report on board requests for information and policy direction to staff and board communication. Does anybody? Board communication?
Sure, Thank you, President Cepeda. I just wanted to say thank you to the staff at Sweetwater and all of the counselors, and went to the orientation. My daughter's starting 9th grade there, and my niece. And the counselors were great, and they stayed after when parents had questions. So it was a full house. Parents were standing, and it was great. And counselors answered as many questions as they could at the end, even after the presentation was over. So thank you to the counselors and to all the staff there. And I also want to say thank you to Ms. Flores, welcome Ms. Flores to the board. We look forward to all your insights. And also, if we could look into Mr. Bear's issue, that would be great. Nobody should feel that way, or make sure that things are getting taken care of. And also to the family of Mr. Esperon, who passed away, and may you rest in peace. And he was a great teacher at Sweetwater. So that's it for me. Thank you. And great to start a new year, school year.
No? Okay. Well, even though it's summer, I got to do fun stuff. I went to the ribbon cutting for the Olympian brand new classroom building that earlier in the week. No, last week. I don't even know what day it is. And then, yeah. And then the Bonita Vista Middle had another ribbon cutting for their, Dr. Alvarez. Bonita Vista now has pickleball courts, as well as new tennis courts. Yeah, we needed you the other day. And I went to the opening of the Wish Well counseling that is available for our students. And I also attended the mariachi concert on Friday that is part of, let me see, it's a individual professional trainer, wow, I'm really tongue-twisted today. Professional mariachis are available for kids within our district to learn more about mariachi, new songs, play different instruments, and they learn from the professionals, which is amazing. There were mariachis from as far away as Las Vegas and Tucson, and it was incredible. So I think that's all I did. Oh, again, as a teacher, my favorite time is the beginning of the school year. This is Wednesday. I'm no longer teaching, but I'm still excited because it's the first day of school, and it's the beginning for everyone. A great start for students, a great start for staff, and just learning, and I'm excited. And so I'll be popping into some of the schools just because I love that feeling of the first day of school. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay, let's move along to G1.
Yes, I have one speaker, Elizabeth Loainsing Garcia.
Good evening again. I'd like to bring attention to the district's continued investment in the Carpe College Access Network. Over the past 4 years or so, the district has engaged in this partnership with participating sites allocating approximately $18,000 per site, per high school to participate in this initiative. That's a significant investment across multiple years on multiple sites. Yet in that time, we have not seen data shared with the board, site school leadership, or counseling teams regarding the effectiveness of our participation. There has been no clear evidence presented on how Carpe has impacted college and financial application rates, A through G completion, or student post-secondary outcomes. It is important to clarify that this $18,000 per year per site does not provide additional staffing to support students with A through G completion, a key factor in college eligibility. It does not put more boots on the ground to help students navigate college or financial aid applications. And it does not directly support students or families through targeted interventions or services. The burden of implementing college and career readiness efforts continues to fall on already overextended site staff, especially school counselors without additional support or personnel. As a district, we need to be intentional and data-driven in how we allocate our limited resources. If we are investing in an initiative year after year, we deserve transparency, results, and alignment with the needs on the ground. It's been a year now where I've addressed the resource assignments at school sites assigned to work with CARPE that school counselors are not able to access. As mentioned before, school counselors are the best equipped, trained, and have the expertise to best lead the CARPE initiatives at each site. They deserve access to the CARPE resource periods just like any other certificated staff. Often these site-based CARPE resource periods are disguised as AVID coordinator or data coach. As SCGA president, I advocate for investments that directly impact students and their families. Investments that provide meaningful, measurable support that reinforce the work already happening at our schools. I urge the board and district leadership to evaluate the return on investment on CARPE, to be transparent with data, and to consider redirecting those funds towards supports that truly make a difference, like additional counseling staff, outreach specialists, and financial aid liaisons. Our students deserve more than good intentions. They deserve action, support, and follow through. Thank you.
No further speakers?
Okay, thank you. Any comments?
Yeah, do have a question. Do we have any data on number of students and any teachers or counselors that assist or are using the program?
Dr. Alvarez?
Good evening. Welcome back, everyone. So CARPE, we have all of our high schools, it's set for Olympian High School, are participating in CARPE. We added 3 additional schools last year, and this is now the 3rd year of CARPE. With CARPE, the intention is to increase the FAFSA completion rate for our students. So we do have the FAFSA completion data. We also have data in terms of A through G completion. We also have students that have been eligible for CSU and UC entrance. We also have the compact data for CSU and other forms of data. I do want to note that although CARPE itself does not allocate direct allocations to school sites, CARPE is funded through the LCAP at the district level, so it is not a site level funded program. And we do use braiding of funding, so Title I monies are used, other LCAP funding is utilized, as well as the Learning Recovery Block Grant and A through G grants to support that college going curriculum supports, site supports. For example, with the A through G grant, we have math coaches at school sites that are being supported. Through the Learning Recovery Grant, we also have curriculum specialists at school sites that are assisting. So there are other forms of support that are provided within our LCAP plan, as well as with some of those more restricted funding sources, either through grants or through other funding that we have available. But we do have data within those elements for each school site that we can provide to the board in a board update.
Yes, that would be great. And the schools that we added, did we just add them, or did the school sites ask to be added?
So the way that CARPE was initiated was that it was presented to the school sites as an offering. It was not something that was directed by the district. That's why we have Olympian High School not participating. It was a school site determination whether they wanted to participate or not, based on their site needs, based on their site staffing supports, and on their team. So it was a decision made at the school sites.
So I'd like to follow up on this question. I mean, I think the question was out there with regards to the FAFSA. Has there been an improvement with regards to FAFSA?
There has been across the board. I will note that this school year, there may be some anomalies based on some of the issues that are occurring at
With
the
the
federal.
yeah, ma'am, yeah.
Yeah, so, but we will provide that data and we'll look at it over the 3 years of CARPE so that you have that.
And I think that would be helpful to send
school
to,
sites.
not just to us, I
Yeah.
think to the SCGA folks, to be able to have them, kind of see that as well. I think That's one way.
Yeah, and that data was provided ongoing at the FAFSA, at the Carpe convenings.
Cool.
But we will make sure that it's more widely available.
Thank you so much.
I did just want to emphasize that last year is likely going to be an anomaly based on the fact of the rollout of the new platform for FAFSA, so that data may look a little bit different than, yeah.
But if it's a 3-year outlay, then we should be able to see some kind of growth, and then the drop because of the new FAFSA, and then today, this year, there's going to be a drop simply because the way that the funding formula is being rolled out is polemic. Polemic, that's a nice way of saying a lot of things, but yeah, polemic. Yeah, thank you.
With that, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Flores,
Yes.
Arencibia,
Yes.
Emerald,
Yes.
Lopez,
No.
Lopez Cepeda,
Yes.
Solis.
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 no.
Moving on to item G3.
Yes, I have one speaker, Elizabeth Loainsane Garcia.
On my comments previously about college going rates and FAFSA and all that, counselors have that data and we know how to track that data. My purpose of bringing it up here is I don't think we presented it in this space, just to show, I think Mr. Arancibia mentioned before Carpe versus now with Carpe, with last year's anomaly with the funky FAFSA. What do those trends look like? And because we can track data, right? So I can pull data for you. I'll try and do that so I can share what I have with you all. But I think it needs to be presented in a way to see if this is effective or not. So with Hey Tutor, again, I'm asking to gather transparency and accountability with our partnership with Hey Tutor. I help coordinate our after-school tutoring homework club at Sweetwater High School, so I've been able to see the work of Hey Tutors and how they function, at least at Sweetwater High School. According to this contract, we're committing $6 million this school year for in-person group tutoring in math across 26 schools. That's 102 tutors at a rate of about $60 per hour, 25 hours a week. So that's approximately $58,680 per tutor per year. So I'll repeat it, $58,680 per tutor per year. That figure is more than the annual salary of a first-year full-time credentialed teacher in our district who earns a little bit over $56,000 a year. So that should give us pause. While the intent to support students academically is appreciated and needed, again, we need to see some data on the effectiveness of these programs, measurable outcomes, and how is this nearly $6 million improving student learning and course completion. In a time when we're all being asked to do more with less, it's crucial, again, that our investments are strategic, transparent, and grounded in evidence. Our students and our educators deserve to know that every dollar spent is making a difference. Thank you.
No further speakers.
Questions, comments? No? Motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Flores,
Yes.
Arencibia,
Yes.
Emerald,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Lopez Cepeda,
Yes.
Solis.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item G14.
Thank you so much, President Lopez Cepeda. Item G14 is a report on the community schools, both planning and implementation grants. So I will ask Dr. Alvarez and her team to guide us through this conversation. Dr. Alvarez.
Good afternoon again. I'd like to invite to the podium Nichelle Veronica Mata. And then I'd also like to acknowledge Ms. Elizabeth Luangsing and Ms. Lucy Ugarte, and of course, Ms. Elba Lopez Cepeda, who have been instrumental in the planning team and on our steering committee for community schools. So we'll go ahead and start in just one moment. So community schools for us has been a project that has started over the last 3 years. This is going to be our first year of implementation. For our agenda, we'll talk a little bit about year 1, year 2 of the planning grant, and then we'll talk about the implementation grant, which is coming this year that we've received. We'll talk a little bit about what those requirements were, what year 1 is going to look like, and then also conversations about sustainability. This is a 5-year grant for the implementation grant. The planning grant was a 2-year grant. And we just wanted to make sure that as a board and a community, everyone understands what the community schools are, which schools are involved, and really the collaborative process that has occurred for this to come to fruition. So that number 16,235 is really important to us, plus, because it represents voices that have been involved in feedback and input into our community schools process. Over the last 3 years, including this year, we have provided tremendous opportunities for our students, our staff, our parents, our stakeholders, our community partners to really develop a platform for community schools and have discussions about what they want to see in a transformative educational community. And so as part of our process, we conducted surveys, feedback, input sessions, just really trying to make sure that the voice of our community was included in our application process. Our motto, is, as we say, every student, no matter what their zip code, really deserves a chance to learn and grow and thrive. That's what our community schools is about. We want to ensure that everyone is involved. What you're going to see here is a brief 2-minute video. It gives an overview of what the hope and the vision is for our community schools.
Welcome to our community schools journey, where education meets empowerment, where every child thrives, every family engages, and every community unites.
We know multiple factors contribute to making us who we are and to our well-being. We know that there is more to supporting our children than curriculum. And that's why as a district, we have decided to come together with our educators, our counselors, and our labor unions to support the community schools strategy.
Community schools can transform lives, uplift our communities as schools become hubs for learning, social services, and community engagement.
There are over 10,000 community schools across our nation, and there's evidence that shows improved academic outcomes, increased family involvement, and educator retention, as well as enhanced community cohesion, despite the challenges that the school and even the city could face.
The success of community schools comes from students, families, and educators, and community leaders coming together to envision a different type of school experience for all of our children and our families.
A community school is a place where students have access to integrated supports, expanded learning time, and opportunities.
Where students, families, and educators have the same role in decision-making process for their schools.
Where every story is valued and everyone comes together to remove barriers that could prevent our students from thriving.
Every community school is unique and shaped by its community.
It is more than what we can see or the additional services provided at a community school.
A community school is about how we feel once we step on campus, and it truly feels like a community moving forward.
Together, we can build stronger communities and brighter futures for the families in the South Bay.
Join us in making community schools a reality at SUHSD. Visit our website to learn more about community schools.
And so my co-presenter this evening is Miss Miss Nacheli Veronica Mata, who for 2 years was our teacher on special assignment for community schools, and starting in July is our program manager for community schools.
Good evening. So what we have in front of us is our mission and vision that was collectively designed and put together by our steering committee. Our steering committee has a little bit over a year that has been working together to ensure that we support our sites, and that we looked into our district and see how the strategy can become a reality. So the logo that you see in here, about a few meetings ago, we recognized the students that participated. It was a student contest that we had. So this was our winning design. This was designed by Karime Hurtado. She recently graduated, and this would be our logo for community schools this year and the strategy role. So these are the 12 schools from our district that were granted the community schools funding this year, and the last round of community schools grant. Since the beginning, the state allocated $4 billion in support of community schools. We get to be part of the last 614 schools throughout the state, but in total, since it started, there are 2,500 community schools across the state. 12 of our sites get to be part of them, 8 high schools, 4 middle schools. This is a 5-year grant that we are starting this school year, and altogether for the 5 years, we will be receiving close to $22 million. Each school will be receiving a portion year after year based on the student enrollment, the one that we utilize for the application. Once again, we are closing our planning phase. The past 2 years, we're starting our implementation phase. It is a long process. And as we're looking into implementing, we're also reminding us about the sustainability piece. So when we're looking into the resources, how to best utilize the funding that we have, even though we haven't received the funding yet, we're thinking about how can we make sure that what we build remains after the funding it's over. So looking into the planning phase.
So as we mentioned, we received 2 grants. The first one was the planning grant, and that was a 2-year grant. The first year was the writing of the grant, and then year 2 was really building on that. It was hiring the TOSA, making sure that we had district alignment, we identified our schools, and we continued to build the collaboration within the community. We developed set up our steering committee to ensure that we had a global mission and vision for our schools.
And so this past school year, a lot of the emphasis and the work was focused around our sites, making sure that if schools chose to be part of the application process, that they would receive the information and the support throughout the year to make sure they had the tools to submit their application. So across the board, the 16,000 number that Dr. Alvarez shared earlier today, those were the amount of surveys that we received. And across the board, between our students, staff, and families, 90% of our interest holders say yes for community schools. There was a voting that was included as part of the survey to identify the priorities, but also to determine whether or not they wanted to move forward. And so this was something that they supported. This past year also, all of our sites submitted the application. They had the opportunity to draft their first implementation plan, look at their budgets, with the support of our county, district resources. All school sites have their community schools page already. We have our district community website where we'll be updating with the information year after year. And we just recently submitted our annual progress report as well for the planning grant. So from our schools, the entire application was over 500 pages between the implementation plans, the artifacts, the budgets. And we would like to highlight that as part of this grant, all of our schools are expected to update and revise their plans as they begin to implement. So this is what they had and they knew up until January of the school year. So there would be updates and changes year after year. Would you like to add anything else about the budget?
Yeah, I think part of the thing that should be noted is that this was not a top-down district process of you must do this. It was, here we are as a community, and do you want to do this? And so, as Nichelle shared, overwhelmingly, all of our stakeholder groups really looked at over 90% saying, yes, we want to participate. Because initially we were thinking of using the steering committee to select potential applicants instead of going with all 12. But as we went through the planning stages, it was very clearly evident, one, that we had really a tremendous opportunity for each of those schools to participate. And we also found out that it would be the last cohort that would be funded. And we wanted to make sure that we provided that opportunity to those schools that were eligible.
And so as part of their implementation plan, every single site had to identify their 3 overarching priorities. And so there's some differences between schools to schools, but the one priority that every single site identified was to ensure that we're able to provide integrated student supports, supporting or promoting our student physical, social, emotional well-being. So back in January, we processed and we utilized schools and our district, looked at what our community said through the survey. So here's a quick breakdown of our groups and the major findings. We did ask, first of all, what they love about their school. So there were so many different responses, but overall, the diverse student body, that was one of the things that they love about their schools, the commitment from their staff to student success, and the different either extracurricular or academic offerings. We also asked about their hopes, their dreams for the school. If they were to build a dream school, what would they hope for? They included their top 3 priorities, and like I mentioned previously, integrated student support services, hands-on service learning opportunities, and making sure that we have more ongoing communication offerings with our community schools, festivals, recognition, and celebrations. So overall, you can see in here why people said, they also had to explain why they were either supporting community schools or not. So this is a quick summary of what our community shared via the survey. The application and the earning of the grant could not have been possible if our sites would not have done all the tremendous work in bringing the community together throughout the year. This is not an unduplicated count, but we had 340 individuals in any of the sessions that we offer to build the capacity. We had pull-out sessions, 4 pull-out sessions where sites brought their teams to learn and get ready and submit their application. They had the opportunity to do site visits. There were 5 conferences and summits that our different staff and even students attended throughout the year. This year we had 11 district monthly steering committee meetings, and we had within our district team, we had 18 planning meetings, and that included different departments, our unions, and we're also meeting with our feeder districts that are implementing and supporting community schools as well.
So that leads us all to this year where we start our implementation. And with the implementation, it's really making sure that each school is able to hire a community schools coordinator. Just in June, we took that position for the CSEA position for the community schools relations facilitator, the senior relations facilitator. That job was approved by the board. We also have a duty statement for a teacher position to help support. We want to make sure that each school site has a steering committee, that we have an ongoing support for our partners, our network. We'll be doing needs assessments at each school. As part of the planning grant, we did that, but we're going to expand that for each school. And then we'll also make sure that we reach that threshold for each school site, that 75% of the students, parents, and staff are involved in that engagement. And it just continues working with that collaborative process that we have at the site level, our district level, our local level, and then the state level within our community schools networks, and continue to provide to the district and to the state our progress reports. As part of this process, we will be doing an annual report that needs to be submitted. There are two components of that. There's a narrative that talks about how we have qualitatively and quantitatively done within the community schools, but then we also have the budgetary reports that are associated with that. We will be bringing a budget report that needs to be completed by September 30th of this year for the planning grant cycle. And then we just continue to revise our plans as we see those community needs. And then also, as mentioned by Nichelle, is that component of creating that draft sustainability plan after the 5 years, of having that developed and ready, so as we transition from being funded to one that we would as a district continue to fund. And then this is just kind of a graphic of all the elements that we will be supporting this year as laid out. So this is just delineating all those elements that I shared earlier.
And so one of the things that we learned as we began the implementation phase, but looking for that we learned from other districts, states, and leaders supporting community schools when it comes to sustainability, collaborative leadership, it's a key, it's a must. Making sure that we have the infrastructure to ensure that all of our interest holders are part of this process, both at the site and the district level, that we're blending and braiding both our social and financial capital, our different grants, the different funding sources to ensure that we are supporting our students and families, and the integration and alignment of our department's programs initiatives, so working smarter together, and the strategic partnerships that either we strengthened or we initiate or continue with our community. So, as Dr. Alvarez mentioned, there is a job description for our community school coordinator for our classified that was previously presented. There will also be a job duty for our certificated site. Any additional updates in terms of the position?
Yeah, so we're working on those, and the goal is to have those site coordinators staffed before fall break.
So I know there's only 2 of us right now presenting, but we would like to thank everyone. This would not have been possible without our students, our families, our departments, SEA, SEGA, and everyone that has been involved for the past 2 years to make sure that we get to this point.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
I have no questions, but what a beautiful summary of all of the work we've done. Love it. Thank you so much. It's concise, to the point.
Thank you.
Good evening. I agree with President Lopez Cepeda. I have a question on the sustainability side. I just want to make sure that we all understand up here. So this is a 5-year grant in order for the sustainability to kick in. We have 5 years to make sure that this is to keep this going further. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we knew what our job was.
And then when we talk about the sustainability, that's by working with community partners to assure ourselves that we are, in effect, getting grants from other sites, or working with grants with other sites to be able to fund this for a foreseeable future, correct?
Collaborate across sites with community partners.
Yeah, I've heard some criticism in the broader community, and one of the biggest concerns is that this may contribute to segregation again. That one community may have resources, other communities don't. Communities divided by race or their financial issues, and we want to create community schools where hopefully children and families can stay in their communities or build their communities, but how do we make sure that the progress that has been made isn't thwarted by the desire for people to just stay in their neighborhoods and, you know what I'm saying?
So one of the things that we have learned is that the addition of the services is one of the things that community schools would do for our students. The heart is the collaborative piece, making sure that we're listening, that we're connecting with the students and our families, so that one does not require additional fundings, but it's more of how we embrace a culture of belonging and connection, regardless of a zip code, whether they have the grant or not. California happens to be the only state throughout the nation that has this additional fundings to get us started, but there are other states throughout our country that have been doing this with those additional funding sources.
I would like to hear more about the track record in other states and how it's being done. And then are we going to be talking about reassigning resources to various communities that are underfunded, that really need a boost here, or is every community sort of on its own?
Oh, maybe I
The presentation actually does say that what sites will be used. Can we go back to slide number, I think it's 4 to 6, that states the schools that are going to be getting the services? I think it's.
I understand it's not district-wide, that certain communities
So, I
have.
mean, I'm not understanding the question then. The question, you just made the question that funds will be shifted over to some other site. These funds that we're getting from the grant are specifically directed to those places. There's nothing shifted. Am I?
Right, so the funds are allocated, and the way that the community schools grants were written is that high-priority schools are schools that have 80% or more of students of need. That's how the state identifies the community schools recipients. And so these schools have 80% or more of students that may experience situations of low income, et cetera. These funds are attributed based on enrollment. So we have allocations from, I think, $300,000 to close to $500,000 for our bigger sites. So for example, Sweetwater High School will receive one of the highest levels of grants. Funding in our state, we do get a per pupil allocation, but we also get supplemental resources, and those are identified for the students that are at greatest risk and need additional supports. So Title I is allocated on that basis. LCAP, our supplemental and concentration grant monies, are also allocated on that basis. As a district, because we have over 61% of our students that qualify for additional supports, we utilize the LCAP to help supplement those resources for school sites. So I think there's a way of utilizing grants, our LCAP, our current funding to continue some of that sustainability work. And then that additional piece is really what you mentioned earlier, was how do we engage our community partners? How do we seek additional grants and supports to continue the work? And so what we've learned, I think, is not only what are we doing for those schools that have been officially identified as community schools, but how do those actions and services how can they be implemented at school sites with additional or different funding sources? Because it's really the practice. It's how do you look at how schools are run, how they're supported, how parent engagement is included, how community partners are brought in. So I think, as this year is really continued learning and implementation, but it really is not to segregate. It really is to bring in community and support. And as we learn those best practices for our schools, I think that's going to benefit our district across the board.
This is probably an obvious answer, but how were these schools, these high schools and middle schools, chosen as our beta sites?
So they were selected based on, you had to have 80% or more of your students qualified. So it's based on low income, foster homeless youth, English learners. What our LCAP funding is based on, same type of formula. And so these schools qualified. We have other schools that have less in terms of the percentage of students. And so the priority for the state funding was that you had to be over 80% in that area. And so all of these schools were invited initially, and as I mentioned, we were going to do a selection process, but because we felt that each of these schools had a very solid grant and that we had a great chance of receiving the grants across the board, we moved forward with all 12.
And students who live in other areas who, and I know there's a lot of portability within this district, would they be allowed to go to some of these schools if parents wanted them to experience the community school?
Yeah, I think it would be the same process that we currently utilize for intra-district transfers. And so that's a process that we currently have available. We have students that go from one school to another because of specific programs. This would be one of those elements.
Okay, well, we'll be watching. Good luck.
Definitely.
And if I may, I think context matters because our district, unlike other districts, and in particular the one directly to our north, they were subjected to a court order in the 1970s that called for a mandatory integration. And so then, busing, correct. And so then that, in essence, what it did, it created a pattern of practice where families would leave one community to attend another community. And that's really kind of where that argument has its essence, the fact that there's this practice or patterns of living in one community and going to, let's say, a more coastal community, for example. That's not something that as germane to our district. In our district, we have the interdistrict transfer process, so I think it's pretty straightforward. And so some of those concerns, I think, are not as applicable to our district. And that's where the context, historical and geographic and others, I think is relevant. And so I think we're in a little bit of a different situation. I have heard some of those concerns, but they're not necessarily quite applicable to our district because we have a different kind of pattern of within our history where those patterns of transportation were not established because of those mandatory orders. And our district is also, I think, more distributed amongst the different demographic variables that may exist, not any one particular, but across the board. So I don't think we have those those concerns around segregation that may occur. Unlike other districts, those may be a little bit more salient. So I think the context matters, and that I could see where those arguments might be made. But in our context, those I think are not as applicable, if you will. But having said that, we will maintain our commitment to equity and inclusion and diversity and all those things that we believe in.
And how often will we be seeing updates and reports, status reports on the various campuses, what they're achieving, what their needs are, what are the challenges that arise?
So through the grant, there's a requirement that we do at least a yearly update, one on the progress metrics, but also two on the budgetary considerations. So at least once a year that will be provided.
Okay.
And then for sites, they really have quarterly monitoring.
Well, good luck with it. I mean, this is an enormous project. I'm sure you're going to get all kinds of feedback from every community in the district. And I see what you're trying to achieve, and I hope that that's what we're able to achieve, to give everybody solid opportunities to school in the community that's really focusing on the community's needs. So, thank you.
Thank you.
President Lopez, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for all the hard work put into this. I know community schools have been around since the 60s and 70s, so it's nothing new. But I think for me, seeing what happened during COVID, and I mean the school was the hub. So you got testing for COVID, you got food for the kids, you got education for the kiddos, and as much information to parents as we could hand out. But just seeing this, solidifying the things that each school is going to do for their own community, I think it makes it something that's going to be beneficial to the whole district. So thank you for everything that you guys have done. Appreciate it.
I do have one speaker to this item.
Oh, okay.
Lucy Ugarte.
Good evening, President Lopez Cepeda, trustees, and Dr. Aguirre. Lucy Ugarte, President, Sweetwater Education Association. Community schools are not just the next phase or the passing fad in education. They are a response to a number of needs and concerns that can be addressed within the community schools model. We have a number of feeder, every single one of our feeder districts has community schools. Chula Vista Elementary School District, National City School District, South Bay Union School District, but we've received the most grants this year, the most grant money. Since the SUHSD submitted a planning grant to the state, SEA has worked diligently to educate our members. Site teams, as you saw here today, these site teams came together with a vision for their community, and they did the work so that all 12 of our qualifying sites were awarded the implementation grants by the State Board of Education. At which time, because I watched the board meeting, comments were made by the California State Board of Education that they want this community schools model for all of our schools in every district in California. SEA is committed to community schools and its tenets of family and community engagement, integrated student supports, extended learning time opportunities, and most importantly, collaborative leadership and practices. And that's my area. Community schools are places where power is shared amongst students, families, educators, and community partners. This does not mean that a community school doesn't need a principal. It needs a principal with a collaborative mindset who listens to the needs of the students, the families, the educators, and community partners, and helps the school move forward based on those needs. Collaborative leadership is not a threat to site administration or its power. Collaborative leadership is transformative leadership, and I commend the district steering committee for modeling that in all of our meetings. Students have a voice just as equal as Dr. Alvarez, just as equal as a parent or a community member, just as equal to Trustee Lopez Cepeda. Collaborative leadership is transformative leadership. While SUHSD leadership is willing to transform and they come to these meetings and practice, SEA appreciates the work being done by those administrators who have actually visited community school sites. My ask of the board tonight is to visit our community schools and ask how many of those site leaders, and maybe even ask cabinet, how many of you have gone to a community school and see the work that's being done there? How many have gone to the Learning Lab in Anaheim? Can I finish? I have like just a, where established community schools are, to see that work in action. Because a visit brings to light what successful community schools can do, and it ties it all together. They're more than just grant money. They're more than wraparound services. It's not just a checkbox. Let's just not say that we're committed to community schools. Let's show with our actions that we are dedicated to our community, because so much of the work is already being done. Let's bring it all together and let's get it done. Thank you.
No further speakers.
Thank you for that report. Very informative. Now we're going to move on to policy review, N1.
Yes, I have one speaker, Lucy Ugarte.
Good evening, trustees, President Lopez Cepeda, Dr. Aguirre. Lucy Ugarte, President, Sweetwater Education Association. Educators agree that students learn best when they are not distracted. Less screen time means more learning time. Research shows consistently that restricting students' cell phone access during the school day results in higher test scores across the board and greater learning. Students who are not using their phones are more likely to engage with one another and have less peer-related and emotional issues, therefore having a positive impact on their mental health. Education professionals in our associations have been advocating for more consistent approaches that allow for increased teaching and less time policing cell phone usage. AB 3216, that goes into effect July 1st, 2026, will create the consistency needed to assure that students have every opportunity to maintain their focus during instruction by setting forth a mandate that prohibits students from cell phone usage while at school. SUHSD's proactive policy will give our students a head start in this endeavor. We realize that this transition will be difficult for students, parents, and teachers, but it's in the best interest of our educational system. Educators are dedicated to working collaboratively during this process to ensure success for everyone. Therefore, SEA needs the full support of site administrators in the implementation of this policy, as teachers will be expected to enforce it. Teachers need assurance that ensuring no cell phone usage in the classroom means that 100% across the district, site administrators will back them up when it's enacted, because someone is not going to be happy. We can't as teachers be made to be the bad ones for following the policy. Working together, we can make this policy work for all. Thank you.
No further speakers?
Comments?
Motion to approve?
Oh, fabulous.
Second.
Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Lopez Cepeda?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. The meeting is adjourned.